these are the sort of things that need to be discussed over the airwaves, because there's a lot of us men.
Yeah.
Now I'm talking to the men. There's a lot of us men that are just holding on to traumas, holding on to memories, and we've reframed them. But now the women in our lives hurt by our reframing. The children that we're trying to raise are being hurt by our reframing,
Mm.
because we need to come to grips with what really happened and label it as what really happened,
Yeah.
so that we can then process that emotion and work our way away from it. And whereas
It's heavy.
when I was a child, I reframed it and said, no, I love reading because it lets me go into other worlds. That was my reframe. But as an adult, I love reading because it lets me leave my world. You see the difference? It's the same reframe. But as an adult, leaving your world is not constructive. Whereas as a child, it saved my life.
That's powerful.
So these are the sort of things that are coming down the pike, because if this happened this morning, in other words, is an ongoing process of recovery, is an ongoing process of healing. It's an ongoing process of being true to yourself, is an ongoing process of actually having a truth. How people say, no, this is my truth, but you've never done any introspection. You've never dug within yourself. How is it a truth if you've never gone to your past?
It's scary to do
Yeah.
that. I did that and it's I need to piggyback off of that
Mm-hmm.
because I experienced that and it wasn't the meditation with God way. I was driving,
Mm-hmm.
I had a joint
Mm-hmm.
and I had a moment of like self-reflection and I was frustrated because I find myself like going in this cycle of like trust with people
Yeah.
and I'm just like what is it what was it that made me like lose all trust or faith in humans where to the point where I can like look at all the ways or scenarios where someone is like trying to hurt me
Yeah.
and it goes to my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
where you felt like a certain trust was taken advantage of and you weren't protected and now you have to protect yourself and as an adult it pours out in trust issues with everybody because now you're just like in between that fence between
Yeah.
can I give you all my trust or do I need to still have a wall up because you can still hurt me, right? And I
Yes.
don't like being vulnerable because it brings me back to that place.
Yeah.
And
And that's so interesting for me because
mm,
as an Enneagram 4,
yeah,
usually Enneagrams 4s are at their healthiest where they're able to kind of delve into their emotions and process. And that's why they like the melancholy, they like the depressing type stuff at
as
times.
you
And
can listen to the song in the
you and
beginning,
Sana's conversation was insane. Yeah, even
or
the
even the
song.
intro
Yeah, you're
song
right.
today.
You're right. And some of the artists that you really have
Yeah,
enjoyed throughout the years, the Nipseys, these
J.
deep sort of
Cole,
thinkers that
bro.
are able to
Yeah,
tap into their past and really work
you
through,
feel the pain.
feel the pain and work through some things. But what you're talking about, I mean, it's super courageous, bro. It's courageous. And it's funny because I was thinking like Moses had his greatest revelation next to a burning bush, and here you are blazing.
Yeah,
God is good.
yeah.
God, but
No,
but
but that's
God
that's
is so
literally.
merciful, so kind, so loving that even in the midst of those things, God can work and will work because He's not intimidated by the things that at times we're doing or we're because at the end of the day he's after your heart, he's after your mind, he's after your spirit, your soul. And in that moment when you have this revelation and you're like, man, like you're attacking the root. You're attacking the root. Pastor George Caban from Newark Ignite Church, New Jersey. One of the things that he's taught me that's really stood in my spirit is, when you have these moments, just ask, Holy Spirit, reveal to me your truth. Reveal to me your truth. And that's kind of like what you voiced at that moment. Like, where's this coming from? Where is this coming from? Because no emotion rises to the surface from nowhere.
Mm.
It has a source. And I think there's just so many times, like if in the past, if I would have had an emotion like that, I would have found a way to get myself busy because I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to process pain. I don't want to feel pain. I don't want to do all that because I've felt so much of it already. Right.
Mm.
So in that moment when you have that experience, did you come to a conclusion or is it something you're still kind of working through?
I feel like I'm working through it.
Hmm.
No, I know that I'm working through it, but it's, how do I say, it's made me be more drawn to maybe wanting uh to have a men's group, kind of a
Hmm.
place where you can kind of like feel some brotherhood, like,
Yeah.
like a bond
Yeah.
with men, where you can be open about these conversations and just
Yes.
see how different men deal with these type of things. Because I'm not saying that my fiance, that a woman can't help me with this,
Hmm.
but I feel like it's something that has to be within, like, men.
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like we
I get
have to
it.
work this out or help each other through this, because these are pride of, like, it messes with your pride, your ego. You don't form any strong relationships or
Hmm.
bonds with men
Hmm.
because of, that mistrust, because of, like, so you don't have those real strong relationships that may help you through these things. And I feel like I've been thinking more of, I should have, or put myself in a position to be around more men, healthy men,
So good.
men that can really, like, be a good influence and be okay to open the floor up to those emotions and not
Yeah.
judge you. Like, I've had that in the past, and I feel like that's healing.
Hmm.
And as I stopped, I felt like I was going in this circle again of putting my guard up, and it's
Yeah.
me versus me,
It's
it's
so
me versus
good.
everyone.
It's so good. It, and in our church, Christ Uncensored Staten Island, shout out, shout out. In our church, we started a men's group last year.
Mm,
And at the end of the year, we had kind of a gathering where we were sharing like moments or experiences within the year that we enjoyed the most. Almost every single man to a fault, when they were sharing what they enjoyed the most, was the fact that they had a safe space, a safe place
mm,
to land with their traumas, to land with their fears, to land with their doubts, to land with their insecurities. They had a safe place in that group, and that helped them to grow. Right. And it's amazing because I read a statistic the other day that said that men consider another man that's able to share their insecurities, their fears, their traumas. They consider those men strong because they're able to do that.
mm.
But then they consider this themselves weak when they share their fears, when they share their insecurities, when they share their traumas. So if another man does it, I see him as strong, but if I do it, I see myself as weak.
Mm.
And that's the sort of stigma that we're battling. That's the sort of mindset that we're trying to basically eradicate and destroy,
Yeah.
demolish, because we need to be able to share our stuff. And that makes you strong. That makes you courageous. That makes you bold. When Jesus, for me, the greatest gangster of all time. I mean, the dude said, "You don't take my life, I put it down." Like he says some stuff that is gangster, and he himself, like he said, like, guys, I need your help. When he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was like, Peter, James, John, I need you guys.
Mm.
Cause my spirit is my soul is to the point of death. Like I'm afraid. I need you guys. Like he needed his boys. Just like men need other men
Mm.
in order to get some of these things.
And with that being said, I want to play a clip
Yeah.
that falls right in this conversation. Let's see if I can.
definition
Bring
for
the
modern
volume up.
masculinity or mature masculinity or evolved masculinity. And I think that that's why this moment feels so painful, is that we don't have it. Because I agree with you. I don't think women are saying, I want a feminine man. I
Mhm.
think they want a modern masculine man. And so that means somebody who is decisive and can provide, but also somebody who's able to communicate with them emotionally. And so one of the suggestions that I came here today to talk about is this idea of men's groups. So about a year ago, my friend David Clavins, who happens to be a world-class magician, came to my husband and said, I'm going to form this men's group. And so it's about 6 or 7 men, and they meet together monthly, and they have served. They have formed this council of peers. So every month that they get together, every guy sits down with post-it notes and says the 2 issues that are most pressing for him. So first of all, I think that that's a great way of doing it, because it's actually that time to say, what am I struggling with? I think many people in their lives, maybe especially men, don't sit there and saying, what's top of mind for me? So guys get the quiet time to do that. Then they go around in a circle, and whoever has the most pressing issue, they get to take their time. And some men might say, these are top of mind for me, but it's not a priority. I'll give the time to someone else. And each month they talk about what's going on for them. They hold each other accountable. So month 3, they might say, hey, David, you've been talking about that for the last 3 months. Are you going to actually do anything about it? And I love that these men have a masculine space to actually go through what's going on for them, because maybe they have wives and girlfriends they can go to. Maybe they don't. But I think it's a different type of advice that you get from a council of trusted peers. And I really do think that men's groups could change a lot of these issues, because I can sit here and say everybody should be in therapy. Guess what? Therapy is really expensive, and many insurance companies will not provide it, or there's a huge waiting list. And so if we just sit around for all these guys to go to therapy, that's not going to happen. But men's groups are a way that men can lead each other. They can provide this tribe of peers. And I have just seen so many changes in this group. So David told me his story where he had a lot of anger about his mom's debilitating illness. And he wasn't really experiencing it, and it was coming out as anger at his mom, but he wasn't conscious of that. But by getting the anger out in a safe place with men, the only place where he felt like he could truly be angry, he was able to get over it and to actually treat his mom with a lot more empathy. Or my husband has gone to the group and talked about ego
And
So
settling,
good.
or
and
how
that's
hard
a
the
just
transition.
a quick example
Yeah.
of a conversation that I came across from another podcast
Hmm.
where they're talking about masculinity, and they go into
I
different
like how she describes it,
sectors.
modern masculinity.
Yes.
That's really cool.
And it's important because there is a stigma behind masculinity
Hmm.
where it sounds like machismo, and then
Yeah.
there was an era for that.
Hmm.
Then there's a new era now where men are being more open about their feelings, but there is something where I feel it's a conversation more being had more often, or it's coming across my timelines a little bit more, about men being vulnerable but staying in that vulnerable state, and
Hmm.
not
Mm.
and it's kind of like everybody's championing the person that shows themselves to be a little weak at the moment, and there's no encouragement to, all right, but there's a way to grow strong from that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like there is something there is importance to being strong men as well,
Yes.
and to have that masculine trait. And it's not that toxic masculinity. We're talking about the healthy masculinity where you can be an example, a leader,
Yes.
somebody that can influence another group of men, younger men, to be providers, to be great fathers, to be great husbands, friends, or just
Yes.
human beings. and
Yes.
and and that's, I feel like that's also, there's like a line that's being blurred with that.
I love that, man, and I love the defining, right? Like Brene Brown wrote a
Mm.
book where she basically defines all the different emotions, because she states that if you're if you misdefine, or that's probably not the word, but if you
We'll go with
define
that.
an emotion
Yeah.
incorrectly, you respond to that emotion incorrectly.
Mm.
Right. And when we talk about modern masculinity, she was talking about men's groups. She was talking about strength. She was talking about all these things, and what you just referred to as well. These are all the questions that are in the minds of men today. And, okay, with this new emphasis on women's rights, where do I fit in? And when feminism happened in the 70s, where do I fit in? And when all these different movements have arisen, men is left questioning, where do I fit in? Because before it was a given. You're a man, you're the head, you're the leader, you're the this. Is no longer a given. Right? Like
It's a earned
before you were the
situation.
only one working. Now
Yeah.
you're both working. Before you were the only one taking care of the kids. Now you're both taking care of the kid.
And I want to like stop at that right there.